Today's 3 games all have a special theme that ties them together, and you have until the timestamp you see on screen to get into the comments and leave your best guess as to what it is. Now, today's video is a bit different to the usual content, as we're going to be talking about the first impressions for each of them based on the first half hour or so of gameplay, starting with the first game, Thank Goodness You're Here. Did you play Untitled Goose Game and walk away from it feeling like it didn't feature enough British references? Did it make you wish you played as a man of small stature that slapped everything in sight instead of being a goose? Well, thank goodness you're here, because the small North English town of Barnsworth needs you and all the incredibly specific talents that you bring. Mostly talents for causing chaos, property destruction, and slapstick humour. But hey, if you've got the skills, you should put them to use. Developed by Coal Supper, published by Panic, and released on the 2nd of August 2022, Thank Goodness You're Here is a quintessentially British game that is complete nonsense in the most charming way possible. There's not much story here to pull you through, but each scenario you find yourself involved in is wild and wacky enough that you'll likely continue playing out of sheer curiosity and desire to see what happens next. While the bones of the game could be described as puzzle-like, your ability to progress is often tied to just finding something to do. For example, at the start of the game, you need to help free a young man whose arm is stuck down a drain after trying to pick up a coin. To do this, you'll need to find some form of lubricant, in this case in the form of butter, but with the store locked, you need to find the locksmith, and he won't help you until he's had his morning pint at the pub, which isn't open yet. So, you might think you need to do something to help the pub owner who's standing by a board of specials, but no. Instead, you need to help a gardener mow a nearby lawn, and in the time it takes to murder a few flowers, the pub will have opened. Utter nonsense, and I love it. I also found myself fully exploring each area because there are numerous jokes worked into the backgrounds and signs, such as a box of lead straws, a bag of Gloria's whole wheat, adults will get that one, or a sign that simply says, funny sign. Everything manages to perfectly straddle the line between being simply a caricature of everything British and being a perfect representation of everything British. Depending on your sense of humour, your mileage may vary, but if you don't laugh at anything in this game, you should check in with your doctor, because you might have a broken funny bone. If you'd prefer something more narrative focused though, take a look at Despelote. Despite having never lived in Ecuador and not being much of a football/soccer fan, Despelote made me feel weirdly nostalgic and homesick. This is a super stylistic first-person 3D adventure game that leans a bit more closely towards being a walking sim game, as it focuses on indirectly telling a story through events that unfold around the player. Developed by Julian Cordero and Sebastian Valbuena and published by Panic, Despelote was released on Steam on the 1st of May 2025. I was immediately caught off guard by the intro sequence, resembling a retro FIFA-style game, as it looked nothing like what I saw in the screenshots or the trailer. But as the camera slowly zoomed out and the conversation and chatter happening around the player came into focus, I knew I would be in for a treat with how natural everything felt. Based in Ecuador, Despelote is a pseudo-autobiographical retelling of events as they unfolded and the impact that soccer had on them personally, their family, their community, and their country. And yes, I'll be calling it soccer because 1, that's what we call it here in Australia, and 2, that's what the devs call it in their store description. The clever mixing of 3D environments, 2D objects and characters, and real-world video footage all overlaid with sepia-style filters creates a unique art style that does an excellent job of making you feel like you're viewing the world through the eyes of a child. The character models especially convey this, as children are far more likely to remember personality than actual features, especially when trying to recall those memories as an adult. There's a mixture of scripted moments and free-roaming sections to explore, as well as dreamlike sequences filled with metaphors, all tied together with a multi-layered narrative that was leaving me guessing at what the main focus would be. Is it about the family wedding that's taking place, the country coming together to support their football team's attempts at the World Cup, or the politics that are ever present and bubbling away behind the scenes? Considering that I know very little about Ecuador, I found the experience so far to be immersive, if a little slow-paced, but it was certainly all delivered with a thoughtful consideration. If you're a fan of sports, history, culture, or narrative-based games, this one feels like it's definitely worth a look. But if you're looking for something that brings retro ideas to the modern era, you'll want to take a look at Sorry, We're Closed. If I could only use a single word to describe this game, it would be aesthetic. But it would be in a flowery font and definitely in cursive. If you like retro games like the OG Resident Evil, but would have preferred it to be a story about angels, demons, cults, and with stronger queer culture representation, then you'll find yourself wishing you were able to play Sorry We're Closed about 20 years ago. Developed by A La Mode Games and published by Acapulco Games, I was immediately drawn in by the atmosphere and attention to detail here. There's a mix of Resident Evil style 3D exploration with forced perspective camera angles, with the ability to enter a first person mode to look around freely and admire all the gorgeous low poly details. All of the characters are super stylish, absolutely rocking the alt punk aesthetics. Like, seriously, every single character is attractive. At least until some of them start talking, which is a credit to the quality of the writing, as it was able to make me dislike some characters in a very believable way. The game is a little slow to get started and doesn't have much of a tutorial, but it's also simple enough to figure out. While Steam does describe this as a survival horror game, I would put that down to the creepy tones and themes more than jump scare style horror, at least in the section that I've experienced. Someone in the comments that's played all the way through might be able to correct me. There is combat here, and it plays out in the first person mode. It took a while to get to this point though, and while I would have preferred it to happen sooner, the pacing feels quite deliberate, giving sufficient time to set up the story and themes before dropping you into any real danger. The moment you unlock the ability to open your third eye is the moment when it feels like everything comes together beautifully. This ability creates a small area around you that allows you to see into the past, interacting with the environment for exploration and puzzles, but also to see enemy weak spots. Admittedly, I feel like I only got to what is likely the combat tutorial before pausing my gameplay, so I'm not sure how the gunplay-focused combat holds up, especially with some of the larger monsters shown in the trailer, but it looks like it's actually better than the melee combat if anything. Even from my short time with Sorry We're Closed, I can feel the care and love put into this from the devs, and I feel like a lot of people might be sleeping on this game given I've barely heard anything about it online. So, given that there's a free demo, if you were even slightly intrigued by what I've shown, I'd strongly recommend checking it out. So, if you haven't made your guess about what you think the theme is that ties all three games together in the comments yet, pause the video and get on it right now. Go on, I'll wait. But not too long, because everyone else might get bored. If you guessed Slow Game Club, congratulations! Go ahead and use my code Graeldon10 for 10% off their subscription in the checkout. Never heard of them before? Slow Game Club is run by Into Games, a UK-based social mobility charity that runs what is essentially a book club for games. And the 3 games shown today are the first 3 games that feature in their 2026 lineup. For about £40 or just over $50, you'll get 1 game delivered to your inbox each month, starting with the 3 games shown here, as well as access to a Discord server for book club style discussions about the games and interviews with the developers themselves. And the best part is that 100% of each purchase goes to charity, helping provide resources and materials for kids, teens, and young adults wanting to learn about game design and development, kickstarting their careers. So, if you'd like to play these games for yourself, check the link in the description and use code Graeldon10 at the checkout for 10% off to get some great games and support a good cause at the same time. why not treat yourself to an early Christmas present? And lastly, if you'd like to see more content in this style where I take a first impressions approach to games, maybe for something like Steam Next Fest demos, let me know in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, and a special thank you to our noble knights Azazel, Daydos, Kartoffeljäger3, Niggy Malevolent, Chev_, and the Crabs, and an extra special thank you to our 4 Knights of the Holy Grail, Automatistic, Fuchs Card Expo, Freaky Feline, and Matey8. That's all for now, so until next time, take care.